Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Next Gen SOC Breakout. My name's Tom Dayton, and I will be hosting this. Yeah, really excited to have four leading vendors with us today for this high growth market. We have Ashley Musk from Checkpoint, Ross Brewer from Attack IQ, and Marang Houston from Vectra, and Lee Mempstead from Firemonk. So we've got a really packed agenda. Without further ado, we will kick off, and I would like to hand over to Ashley from Checkpoint to kick off. Ashley, are you with us at the moment?
Thanks very much, Tom.
Perfect. Thanks ever so much for joining us, and over to you.
Thanks, guys. So as Tom said, my name's Ashley Musk. I'm one of the security engineers for Checkpoint within the UK. I've been asked today to speak to you about Checkpoint's vision for the SOC and for the SOC of tomorrow. I'd like to start with thanking Westcon for arranging this fantastic event as well, and thank you all for joining us. So I thought a good place to start would be with a little recap of what happened in 2020. Now, it was an extremely challenging year in a number of ways. So obviously the pandemic led to a new way of working for many of us. This created security challenges in and of itself. And we also saw the SolarWinds incident last year. Now, this is particularly interesting because it's a multi-stage, highly sophisticated cyber attack. Traditional security systems aren't really set up to catch these kind of advanced persistent threats. This means that the SOC teams play a more pivotal role in our organizations now more than ever. So what is a SOC? A SOC is a security operations center, and they'll usually be manned by SOC analysts, and it's their job to go through the data from various logs that the organization holds to try and uncover threats that might be lurking just beneath the surface. Now, the job of a SOC is not an easy one. As we can see from the stats on screen, a typical organization of just 2,000 users is going to be generating 10 million logs every single day. Now, that equates to over 3.6 billion logs a year, and that creates a huge challenge just for trying to carve out the manpower to analyze these various logs. And this problem is only going to be compounded as we add more and more elements of infrastructure and more solutions into our organizations. For example, as we start to adopt SaaS applications, public cloud, IoT, all of those systems will be generating logs, and this further exacerbates the challenges for our SOC teams. So as we suggested on the last slide, there's a number of challenges facing the SOC teams of today. As we saw from the stats, they are receiving a huge amount of information, and this information overload creates a kind of a needle in a haystack approach for some SOC teams. We can also see this wealth of information can also lead to our analysts becoming stressed and overworked. Now, we also have a particular shortage of security professionals and SOC analysts in particular. And when all of this is brought together, we actually hinder the organization's ability to deal with security incidents. Now, Checkpoint have a new solution called the Infinity SOC, which is set up to try and combat some of those challenges. So the goal of the Infinity SOC is to understand the challenges that we see within the SOC of today, and to bring them all of the tools they need to monitor, investigate, and respond to incidents into a single platform. So one of the things that we mentioned on this slide is investigation. Now, to investigate a cyber incident, we're going to need intelligence. And Checkpoint operate one of the largest shared threat intelligence databases globally. It's called the Threat Cloud, and as you guys can see from the stats on screen, the stats behind the Threat Cloud is absolutely astronomical. We're seeing each and every day we're dealing with about 86 billion transactions, and we're crowdsourcing the latest intelligence from over 150,000 of our customers. Now, this intelligence isn't just fed by by our customers. We also have a team of researchers and some honeypots that sit out on the internet. And all of this intelligence allows us to stay on the cutting edge of the threat landscape. And this intelligence can in turn benefit our SOC teams in a number of ways. It will allow them to pinpoint attacks much quicker using this robust intelligence. And it will also allow them to work in a more preemptive way, allowing them to quickly identify indicators of compromised malicious domains that they might want to block or investigate further. Now, the Infinity SOC can also help in terms of precision. So if we remember back a couple of slides, we know that the numbers that a typical organization generates in terms of logs is absolutely astronomical. Now, one of the ways the Infinity SOC can help to do this is to prioritize those different logs and help us to correlate and understand what might be the most, what is going to be the most important threat to fight. So as we can see, this organization has around 60 million logs. If we can start to correlate those events and understand that just 3,000 of those are malicious, we've already given the SOC team an advantage in fighting this particular threat. We can tell them that rather than to troll through these 60 million logs, you now have 3,000 activities to go and do some investigation on. Now, we can make their jobs even easier if we can start to correlate those 3,000 activities and just say, all of this malicious communications look to be coming out of 40 particular servers or 40 particular endpoints. We've actually made their job, that step, one more step easier. We've taken the guesswork out and we've correlated those 3,000 malicious activities into just 40 assets that need to be investigated. And we can actually take that one step further also, and we can start to give some recommendations on the on the probability of a device or server being infected. So rather than saying that we have to go and investigate 40 assets, we would obviously say that we want to start with the 11 which are already exhibiting signs of infection. We'll also help you to prioritize these events when we notice them. So if we pick up on a particular malware family, we can give you the confidence level as well as the severity level and help you to automatically prioritize those events that we've noticed within an organization. In this example, we want to deal with the TrickBot outbreak quicker than we would need to deal with the lookalike URL. So I've got prepared a small video to just show you some of the capabilities of the Infinity SOC today. I think it's important to mention this isn't an all-inclusive video. We didn't have time wasn't permitting to show you all of the bells and whistles that we've brought into this solution, but I hope this will give you some indication of some of the features that we've included into the Infinity SOC. Thank you everyone for joining this portion of the presentation. I've just logged into the Infinity portal. For those of you who haven't logged into the Infinity portal before, I'd highly recommend going and creating yourself a free account. We host a raft of services here, including Firewall as a Service, CASB, and cloud security. It's completely free to register an account, and it's a great way to get hands-on with our technology. So this is the primary Infinity SOC dashboard. Now, as we can see, we have 10 gateways connected to this tenant. Now, they'll be sharing data with the threat cloud and with Infinity SOC, and that will allow us to analyze any threats we see, as well as analyze logs further and try to use our robust intelligence. We'll also get a really nice breakdown of the number of assets that we've seen targeted within our organization, and a really cool breakdown of the number of unique malware families that are currently at play within our estate. Now, I'm just going to navigate to the threat map. The threat map is a really powerful tool for understanding any live threats that we're seeing within your organization. And it won't just tell us that we're seeing a threat, it will also tell us any assets or any hosts that are exhibiting signs of that infection. So we can see that this botnet has got a number of our assets communicating with it. And we've also got a host communicating with some form of the SolarWinds exploit. So I think that would be a quite interesting one to investigate for the purposes of today. So I've just clicked onto the incident, and this will take me to the asset that we believe is infected with some form of the Sunburst exploit. So I can see a number of connections out to this known CNC server. We can see over 5,000 connections out to this global networking issue. And we'll also see any connections that it's previously made. Now, I also get a really nice breakdown of a very nice simple description of the malware that we've seen, as well as the source IP that this threat was discovered from. Now, if I navigate to the Activity tab, I can see a timeline of the events that have caused this machine or this host to become infected. So we can see that a number of the connections have been related back to the Sunburst or to the SolarWinds exploit. And these have been made, a very large number of connections have been made out to these malicious servers. Now, it's great to be able to inform us about an attack, but ideally we would also like to be able to remediate it, remove any signs of that infection from our network. Now, the Infinity SOC is also going to give us a really powerful mechanism to do this. So, as we can see, we'll get step-by-step remediation instructions for how to, delete any signs of that malware. So we're being recommended to disconnect the asset from the network so that we can't have any lateral spread. And then we're also being advised to download a small client to clean any signs of malware from the machine. Now, this is available in Windows, Mac OS, or Linux. And this is going to be a very lightweight version of our Sandblast agent technologies. That's our advanced EDR, and that can strip away any signs of malware that we've noticed in that environment. Now, I'm just going to traverse back to the intelligence tab. And as we can see, we've seen a number of connections out to this known CNC server. However, we don't just tell you that about known CNC servers, we're also going to give you some very powerful investigation tools that you could help to identify CNC servers that your assets are potentially communicating with. So I'm going to navigate to the investigation tab on the left-hand side. I've just copy and pasted that CNC server that one of our assets was communicating with. If I paste this into the investigation tab, I can then pull back any intelligence a Checkpoint have against this domain. Now, we'll pull back Checkpoint's proprietary intelligence, but we'll also pull back some open source intelligence from Twitter and from Google to find out what our peers are saying about this particular threat. We can also see the geolocation map. So this is going to give us a really good indication of where this malware or where this exploit has been most prevalent. So as we can see, it's been extremely active in Canada and the US. Now, because this is a domain, I can also interrogate any register information that Checkpoint have on this domain to understand who owns it, where it's registered, etc., etc. So we can see this has been obfuscated, so it's going to be quite difficult to understand, who registered this. And another really powerful feature is we can also actually query this domain in VirusTotal to understand what our peers in the field know about this particular threat. Now, it's great that we have all this investigation tools and we can tell you about this threat, but obviously the Checkpoint mantra, where possible, is always to prevent rather than to detect. So within this platform, we'll also give you a powerful mechanism to actually push these indicators of compromise out to your gateways that you have connected to the Infinity SOC. Now, I want to trigger this protection in prevent mode. As we said, that's a part of the Checkpoint mantra. And I can also set the particular blade that we want to trigger on, as well as the confidence and the severity level. Now, I'm going to leave the expiration date as 10 years in the future, as hopefully this won't be, we won't still be dealing with the SolarWinds vulnerability in 10 years' time. And I can now push that out any gateways that I have connected to the Infinity SOC. Now, if I navigate to the IOC management window, just on this left-hand side below the investigation tab, we can see this, the IOC that I've just pushed out is now present here. Now, if it's not a Checkpoint gateway that we're working with, I could actually use a third-party threat feed to take these insights and pass them to a non-Checkpoint gateway as well. So as long as you're working with a third-party gateway that can receive, these threat feeds, these custom threat feeds, we can simply take them from here and push them into another system. Thank you for joining me on this part of the presentation today. I'm now going to continue with the slides and answer any questions that we might have. Great. So I hope that gives you guys some insights into some of the capabilities of the Infinity SOC platform. So again, I think it's important to highlight that that wasn't an exhaustive demo. There's a load of really great stuff we can do around scanning for external lookalike domains and applying that threat intelligence on other stuff rather than just domains. We could also use the investigation tab to investigate things like malicious hashes, etc., etc. So If today's session was useful and you'd like to learn more, we've got a really powerful customer testimonial which is on YouTube, so that's obviously open to anyone who'd like to access it. And we've also recently updated our Infinity SOC page on checkpoint.com. So those are going to be two great resources for just gleaming some more information on this feature set. So that was it from me today, guys. I believe there's a Q&A function, so if anyone had any questions, I'm around for a little bit longer. I'd love to answer any questions that you might have. And again, a big thank you for everyone for joining us today. Okay, I can't see any questions coming up in the Q&A. Great, so I believe, I'm not sure if I'll be handing over to Ross or back to Tom, but thank you very much for listening today, guys.
Thanks very much, Atch. That was really good. Great presentation as always, and I liked the video in the middle there. Always makes me nervous when you do a live demonstration, right? But it's great to actually see the product in action and really what it can do. So thank you again. Really appreciate your time. Everyone, there is a comments field. Please do ask your questions. And as Ashley said, he's around for a little bit longer, so we can follow up on those questions. Or indeed, we do of course have our booths as well, where representatives from all of our vendors will be to do any deep dives that you need into some products, ask some further questions, and do any follow up. So thank you again, Ashley. Really appreciate that. Next up, we have Ross Brewer, the strategic advisor for EMEA from Attack IQ. Ross, I think you'll be coming in a moment. There we go, and over to you.
Okay, great. Now I'm sharing my screen there, Tom. Can you switch to that? That's perfect. Okay, great. So thank you, everybody. I want to thank the team at Westcon, and I want to thank everybody for taking time out today. My name's Ross Brewer. My title's changing a little bit. I'm the General Manager and Vice President for Attack IQ in terms of the EMEA and APJ businesses. And so today we're going to be talking about why would you be wanting to have a conversation with your customers around security optimization or Attack IQ security optimization platform. Now, in terms of the industry or the space that we operate in, other words that you want to listen out for with your customers is that they're looking at breach and attack simulation, BAS. They're looking at continuous security control validation, they're looking at security instrumentation, or they're looking at enhancing their red team with the likes of purple teaming. And I'll come on to some of these terms as I go through this. But throughout this discussion, we're going to be talking to you about a new conversation that you can be having with your customers that will differentiate you and drive new customer acquisition, customer cross-sell, customer upsell, services revenue, and potentially for those of you doing managed security services, we can help you with that as well. So let me just advance my screen here. 1 second. Okay, so what we're talking about here, we're in the middle of a perfect storm with COVID and everything that's gone on, and not in a good way. Organizations have very rapidly moved to remote working. They've very rapidly moved their cloud transformation projects to make their applications available to their customers and their employees. They've really expanded the attack surface through that activity, and it's taken a lot of budget away from traditional projects, upgrade projects, and things that you would have been hoping for and trying to work on with those customers. Furthermore, we have seen a situation where many of those projects were done, I think haphazardly is probably a little bit negative, but let's just say they were done rapidly and they weren't done often with the best planning, resources, and foresight. So what this has done is that it's meant that the security operations teams are no longer in the building with the SOC or the NOC. So they've become distant from the technology, they've become distant from their colleagues. So we've ended up with an expanded attack surface. The hackers are doubling down on their activity, and no one's in the office and no one's sitting next to each other. So that's created a massive problem within the industry. And that's really driving sort of three sort of strategic initiatives. The first and foremost is that organizations are starting to accept the fact that they can't prevent people getting into their networks. Many of you have seen the statistic that phishing is up several 100% this year. Whatever statistic you use, it's not relevant for this conversation, because what we're talking about here is that the ability to keep people out of the networks is proving impossible. So organizations are moving to what's called a threat-informed defense. So they're starting to look at their network, not through the top-down risk-informed defense of sort of GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. They're looking at it through the lens, through the eye of the hackers and the organized criminals and government agencies. And so this is a way of, better analyzing the risk that pertains to their organization. Now, once they've understood who are the threat actors that are going to go after them, what kind of techniques and tools and procedures and things TTPs would they use against that organization, the organization then needs to start layering in best of breed security technologies, which you're all here today working with Westcon's next generation security group to work out what those technologies are. Once those technologies, or even pre those technologies being selected and deployed, organizations need to really exercise their environment in the way a hacker would, in order to find the failures and find the gaps before the hackers do. Now, why is this important? Because in 82% of the breaches, according to Verizon, their data breach and investigation report, the security control. Now, I'm going to mention the word control. I think some of you are in sales, so control might not mean a lot to you. A security control is like EDR, firewall. They're classed as security controls. Or it could be a configuration, making sure that somebody can't access a certain data repository on AWS. These are security controls. And the problem with the security controls, in 82% of the breaches that have been analyzed, the control was available, so the security technology was there, or the configuration item was available, but it failed. And it failed because of one of several reasons. One, it wasn't configured properly. Two, it didn't do what it said on the side of the tin when it was sold to the customer from the vendor or the partner. Or three, there was a breakdown in the operational processes where it didn't, either the managed security service provider or the teams working in the SOC didn't see the activity. And so the moral of this story is that controls fail. They fail often, and they fail silently. So if your mobile phone fails, because you can't make a call. If your email fails, because you're not getting email. But if your security fails, you don't know. And customers only find out when they've been owned and their data is starting to appear on the internet. So customers are looking to revolutionize their security capability and really tackle this problem. They're looking for change. And this creates an opportunity for you as partners to be that change agent that goes in with a new conversation, a new discussion that makes you look good, makes Westcon look good, and we can help you with that to actually engage in a more meaningful way to your customers. Now, how are organizations looking to drive change? Most of the sophisticated and the more advanced and the more savvy cybersecurity teams are taking a threat-informed defense, and they're using the MITRE attack framework from the MITRE Ingenuity Center for Threat-Informed Defense. They're using this matrix. Now, if you're not familiar with MITRE and you're not talking about MITRE with your customers, again, this represents the biggest opportunity, the biggest change in the security industry, because for the first time, we can actually talk about all of the behaviors. And just to let you know what MITRE stands for, you can see down there, it stands for ATT and CK. That's adversarial tactics, techniques, and common knowledge. So the kill chain is the tactics across the top that the adversaries are going to use. And then the techniques are in the vertical here. These are the ways that they're going to do it. Now, as I said, if you're not familiar with the MITRE attack, Attack IQ has created a free academy. You can just go to attackiq.com. You can get all your engineers, get your customers, go to Academy, and we provide free training courses on MITRE attack, operationalizing it, breach and attack simulation, and purple teaming. And I'll come on to purple teaming a little bit later and what that term means. And we offer about 21 free courses, and I'll touch on Academy a little bit later. So what is security optimization, and what is Attack IQ doing, and where are we focused? So we are focused on delivering our customers with our partners. We're 100% channel, 100% two-tier, 100% working with Westcon's Next Generation Security Group and you. So, we're a trusted vendor. There's no risk to you introducing us. We've got a strong registration process to protect you. We focus on the 3 Ps: our platform, our partnerships, and our practice. So from a platform perspective, we have a enterprise SaaS, cloud, or on-prem platform that is capable of doing enterprise-wide testing in production in a safe manner, designed in a way to do no harm. We have deep partnerships with the leading security vendors and technology companies, and we work with those organizations in conjunction with the MITRE Center for Threat-Informed Defense, which is where the MITRE attack framework lives. And we use the MITRE attack framework, and we have these organizations sharing our technology where they can test their capability with Attack IQ. And so this ensures that when you as partners get new security products and platforms, that they are fit for purpose against the known adversaries. So we've touched on the platform, we've touched on the partnerships. The biggest area that we focus on is our academy. So within our academy, we provide those 21 courses that I said completely for free. Top tier educators, ex-DOD, ex-NSA, ex-industry educators. And from our academy, certain number of the academy students and some of our customers, some of our partners, then flow into our informed defenders community, which I'll touch on a little bit later. And then most importantly are our blueprints. So with our blueprints, because this is a new space and organizations are looking to transform their cybersecurity programs and their practices using Attack IQ as the backdrop, we worked with our existing customers to work out what they did to operationalize MITRE, what they did to operationalize Attack IQ, how they used Attack IQ and MITRE to analyze their security stack and ensure that it was doing what it was meant to and identify gaps and so forth. Now, all of these things I'm talking about, these business transformational programs from a cybersecurity standpoint, there's a lot of services opportunity for our partners, because Attack IQ, we're focused on Attack IQ. There's a lot of business and technical and technologies that have to go into filling these gaps that Attack IQ doesn't do. We might show that an EDR is deficient and they want to upgrade that. That's where you come in. So we've touched on the platform, we've touched on the partnerships, we've touched on the practice. So let's look at the architecture. So we have a platform, as I said, and in the bottom left-hand corner here, it can be either in the cloud as a SaaS or on-prem, the same code, no divergent code, so customers can flip from one to the other as they mature. And we have an integration manager that integrates with the security technologies like the SIEM and the firewalls and the EDRs. And what we provide our customers the ability to drop test points into various parts of their infrastructure and around their networks to enable them to conduct sort of testing to validate what's working, what's not working, where do they have gaps, where do they have overlap, what can they operate, what can they optimize, what can they rationalize. And so we've talked about value, we've talked about transformation, we've talked about innovation. These are all areas that support this. So what we're able to do with our test points is test in a number of what's called modalities or a number of modes. So we can test the host, we can test the server, the network, we can test people, processes, we can put components in the cloud, we can test phishing externally coming in, we can do data exfiltration going out. As I said, it's a very flexible architecture, and all of these capabilities are done from a single technical component, which makes it extremely easy to deploy, easy to use, easy to manage, and easy to get value from. So our vision is to provide a customer with a platform and build out a practice within their organization and a program that delivers them a complete decision support system where they're getting a closed loop feedback on, as I said, what's working, what's not, and so forth. So this platform is designed to help organizations not just transform their technology, but also transform their skills and teams through even looking at a different organizational structure. So I mentioned purple teaming, and all our slides are purple. So for those of you who are familiar with red teaming, that's the offensive testing team that will go and try and hack an organization to see where it's vulnerable. The blue team is the operations team that are defending that network. And typically the red team is pitted against the blue team, and the red team always owns it, and the blue team always feel bad because, their systems have got compromised and they didn't stop the attack. And that adversarial sort of relationship is not as productive as we would like. So we tend to, and the industry's moving, and again, the more innovative companies are moving towards purple teaming. And purple teaming is where you get the red and the blue team and, threat intel, operations, HR, compliance. You get everybody working together to transform the organization in terms of its defensive capabilities. As I said, we develop these blueprints. Think of our blueprints as treasure maps that we've learned experience from existing customers that we take with partners, and then we go and take new customers on a journey that's much more structured, much more automated, and we get from zero to wow, or zero to hero, as zero to wow, as one of our board members said the other day. We get there more quickly. Sure, customers can do this themselves, and they can go and wander into the bush and fall in the mud and whatever. They may get there in the end, but working with partners, we can help customers improve their capability more quickly. So I just wanted to touch on our academy. We started this mid last year, and we've got nearly 12,000 cybersecurity professionals from 160 plus countries. The Preactive Security Exchange is where we share our technology with the industry, because our mission as a company is to make the world a safer place to compute digitally. And In order to do that, we need to bring the industry together. So these organizations can not only share our technology, many of them are paying customers within their purple team, within their corporate security, are using Attack IQ. I mentioned the MITRE Ingenuity, which is where the MITRE ATT&CK framework now lives. Attack IQ is a founding research partner, one of three. So we work with a consortium of commercial, non-commercial, non-profit organizations to develop the MITRE framework and drive adoption of the MITRE framework within the community at large. And we're working on 10 research projects with MITRE. And then, as I said, with our Informed Defenders community, that a subset of those go into that community where there's 2,000. And most recently, we have created a executive council where we've got CISO and CISOs from around the industry that come together, and we sit in on those meetings to understand, and this is represented by the likes of Dropbox and Credit Suisse and Toyota and JetBlue, Paycheck and others. But more importantly, we sit in and hear how they are looking at different problems. So the last discussion was around how CISOs and CIOs are communicating with the board and how they can do that more effectively. And just a note on Credit Suisse finally, they voted Attack IQ one of their top 5 transformational IT technologies in the last 12 months. So we're very proud of that. Why would you want to engage? Why would you want to introduce us to your customers? Why would you want to find projects that are breach and attack simulation, that are control validation, control testing, control assurance? Because we win more than 80% of the time. So what we need is, we're a bit of a secret. Organizations don't know we exist. When we sit down with them, they love it. We need you to introduce us. So why would you introduce us? Because we can get you higher in the account. We can have a much more strategic conversation with the customer. The CISO's job is to design, build, operate an efficient, agile security program. And as I mentioned during the plenary session, there is a blue ocean opportunity here with the finding a new conversation to go and have with your customers. So you can help your customers move beyond vulnerability testing, pen testing, and basic red teaming. And then ultimately, what you'll get out of it is to be able to have a conversation around MITRE ATT&CK and the operationalization of it, red teaming, purple teaming, and control validation. But more importantly, you'll be able to acquire new customers in this difficult time, drive upsell and cross-sell in your existing customers with a new conversation, drive services, because this is a services opportunity, and then ultimately, if you're running managed security services, managed SOC, managed EDR, you'll ultimately be able to look at this as a managed security provision. So there's a 1.5-minute video. I think Tom might have that on standby. So Tom, I think we're coming up. We've got a couple of minutes left. If there's any questions, please come over to our booth. Brett is there waiting, and pop those in the chat. So we're pretty tight on time here. We only had sort of 20 minutes, and fortunately my friend at Checkpoint gave me an extra couple of minutes. But Tom, if there's no further questions, do you want to roll the video to... Oh, and just to let you know the background of the video, we just had our SKO and our theme was the Matrix. So the first guy you'll see is my boss, Carl Wright. So it's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek video, but hopefully you'll like it. Thanks, Tom. Sorry, Tom, I can't hear you.
There we go, unmuted. Brilliant video. I was just saying, really enjoyed that, and the presentation as well. Really insightful. I'm just checking to see if we have any questions. It doesn't look like we're having too many come through on the chat now, but of course everyone will have access to the booth to come and to learn a little bit more. Certainly impressive stats around your academy and some of the things that you've achieved there. So yeah, my congratulations to you on that piece for sure.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. This thing went viral, and we set it up. We're just trying to sort of help the community, and we had no idea. Now what we're actually doing is we're going to partner up with a university that's doing Chief Information Security Officer training and courses, and we're going to bring them into the academy and cross-share our academy with them. So that's about to go to the next level. So it's been wild, I've got to tell you. We're getting 2,000 people a month signing up. It's one of the biggest sort of communities in the industry that's just growing so rapidly. It's wild, and I think that speaks to the opportunity. And the academy's there for all the partners, all of their customers. It's completely free. Just to give you an example, on the purple teaming, Ben Opal takes that. He's an ex-Marine, ex-agency, 3-letter agency, and he helped develop and deploy the purple teaming doctrine for the Department of Defense in the US. So thank you all for your time. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you again. I really appreciate it, Ross. No, that was fantastic.
Right. Bye for now, team.
Take care. So next up, we have Morang Houston from Vectra.
Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon. So thank you again for coming along today. Really looking forward to the presentation, and over to you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marijn Joost, and I'm Regional Sales Manager at Vectra for Belgium and Luxembourgish region. And again, thank you for joining this session about security at things. And security at things, it says it all, basically. That's where we're going to focus on in the next 20 minutes. But before we actually going to do that, we'll first take a step back, take a moment and to look into what the world is doing these days, because that's important to understand what is happening. Now, security and everything regarding hacking, hackers community and so on is basically like mafia. It's a big billion business around the globe who's constantly looking for new exploits, new vulnerabilities, and go right in there. And that's basically why it's an existing business, just because of the money, and we know that. Now, it's not just that, and you see already a couple of examples on screen here, and it's only a couple of examples from in Belgium only, and in Belgium we have like, at least that we know of, 50 attacks just in the last year on the big, huge companies, going from companies, hospitals, in education, name it. It's crazy these days. Now, the thing where I get the most afraid of these days was not just actually a hack. It's more than that. It's actually something like SolarWinds, what happened in December last year. And actually it not happened in December, we discovered it in December. It's actually already happening since March last year. And what is happening there is very straightforward, unfortunately. It was a solution that everybody trusted. Simple application running in your environment, a management application, like we have a tons of them. And what happened is, all of a sudden, in one of those upgrades, all of a sudden they actually had a big vulnerability. Somebody hacked into SolarWinds, basically just changed some code in a DLL, sent it around the world, and all of a sudden everybody running that part of SolarWinds, 18,000 customers, were basically exposed just out of the blue without knowing. And that is where I'm afraid of, without knowing. It was happened in March last year that we say that SolarWinds sent out that update. In December, we figured that out. So this is the way that they all of a sudden were able to entering into 18,000 customers. That's a lot. And that's something we need to be careful for. And it's not just that, there is more than that. We actually had in November timeframe last year a similar case, not based on an update of a trusted software, no, just by doing some social engineering. It was a huge pharma giant in France, where all of a sudden Vectra was able to stop an actual breach. And it's not that we stopped that breach, which is important in this slide. No. It's actually the first phases. And the first phases was based on social engineering. A hackers community that simply sent out a couple of applications to those employees. Hey, are you interested for a new job? Are you interested? Ah, super. And they start a conversation on LinkedIn, a very easy, open, transparent about a job conversation to gain some trust there. A couple of those employees reacted to that and said, yeah, we are actually interested. And the conversation was ongoing. What they then did, they moved all that conversation, they asked to move that conversation towards WhatsApp. And all of a sudden, those guys, those hackers, the community there, had an open, encrypted tunnel towards the endpoint, because they asked to open a desktop app of WhatsApp, because then they can easily share some information, share some more background on the actual applications for that job. And all of a sudden, there was that tunnel. They had an open gate inside that environment. And now it's not just that. There's more than that, of course, because, of course, there is an EDR running on that host. But again, proof was there, EDR is not just enough. You need to have that. It's like firewalling, it's like all other protection mechanisms that there are in the world. But it was just not enough. And if you go to ired.teams, it's a public website, you will see how to bypass EDR. So it is possible. But let's not focus too much on that. Either way, they had an entrance and they were there. And from there on, they moved on inside the environment. And there is actually where the attack kill chain comes in place. They were in. That was the first step, and from there on, they sniffed around and saw what they could do. And at a certain point in time, they actually founded an open SMB share and moved on. Now, once they moved on, Vectra started picking up a couple of those responses and alerts. And of course, we were able to avoid an actual breach. But again, it's about how to enter that environment. They are very innovative to get in. They're not just passing a firewall and so on. No, they are very innovative from that side. And then basically they follow the standard kill chain, going from a command and control over reconnaissance, lateral movement, and then go to exfiltrate data or start installing some ransomware and encrypt everything. So there are several options there. What is important here? This is all based on behavioral, on behavior in general. And that's exactly where we are going to focus on with Vectra AI. And I like the statement here on screen. And it says it's a matter of when, not if you will be hacked. Because if you are targeted, you will actually be hacked at a certain point in time. And then it's a matter on how to react on that. So just to clarify, what we don't do is identification, what are your assets, who is logging in where, and all those kind of things. We do not protect. You have firewalling tools for that. You have reverse proxies and all other mechanisms to do it. What we do is basically detection and response. I often compare it like an alarm system. In a house, if you have a door, you can lock the door, that's your firewall, but once you're in, via another way, the back door, you want to know if somebody is in. And that's basically your alarm system, your sensor, looking around if there is some strange behavior in your house. And that is what we do, focusing on finding something and responding to it. And why do we do that? Because we see a huge security gap there. Because often people protect, even put 15 locks on their door. But once somebody's passed that lock via that social engineering way, via an update from trusted software, then all of a sudden there is something inside that you want to know and control as well, and where you want to respond to at a certain point in time. And that security gap is what we cover, because basically with all those locks around your door, you have a false sense of security. Because again, if you're targeted, they will actually expose you. Now, to come again, step back, network detection and response, and that's the market where we play in with Vectra, and we focus on that networking part. And actually, Gartner said it 2 years ago. They launched this SOC visibility triad, where they said the baseline is NDR and EDR. EDR for your host, protect them, but it is much more than only a host. At these days, your network goes much broader than just your data center. And the customers have SaaS applications like Office 365. They have maybe in Amazon Azure an IaaS platform that they're leveraging. They have maybe a policy regarding bring your own device. They maybe have IoT device cameras. They have printers. They have network equipment, and name it, and so on and so on. All these kind of things that that is basically not possible to protect with just EDR solution. And that's why we go much broader. We scan your network cross-cloud with SaaS applications like Office 365 so that the whole baseline is covered. And of course, on top, you can put that SIEM to do analytics and to zoom in into certain use cases. But again, SIEM is not a detection tool. It's a good data lake, but it's like Google. If you don't have a keyword, you don't know what to look for, it's very difficult to find something. If you know what you're looking for, if you want to do forensics, analytics, it's the best tool there is, right? Now, to quickly jump back to that security gap. How are we going to gain visibility in that? Very easy. We're an AI-driven platform, meaning that there is an engine somewhere which actually learns from itself. And this actually causes us to gives us the possibility to give a visibility of 200% giving 200% more visibility in your network. All of a sudden, because you have the sensors, you can look at it. We have our engine, we push that metadata in there, and we can do stuff with it. This actually makes it possible to reduce your alerts with 85%. How come? Again, we have that AI engine. So that AI engine is mapping certain models to your data, and that we immediately can filter out a lot of data which is not important. And last but not least, a hacker is by average 56 days in your network. So we are able, because we have those sensors, we have real-time visibility, we are able to reduce that time to find it to 4 hours. Why do you find it after 56 days? Because ransomware is starting or your data is exfiltrated. And that's where you figure it out, but then it's too late. Now, how are we going to do that? How do we do that different in the market? First of all, we have a bunch of security researchers, and they're actually focusing on what is happening there. They actually analyze every tooling, every malware, actually behavior, trends, procedures that are used, and are bundling that together and giving that to data scientists. And those data scientists are going to map all that information, valuable information, towards models. This is what we call supervised modeling. And this is the first step in that machine learning process. Because we find things out, we map that to models so that we can easily and fast respond. And this actually already covers 97% of the MITRE ATT&CK framework. And on top, we enrich our data a lot with integrations. And this will basically come out with a workload reduction for your tier 1, so your security engineers, with 44%, because we already filter out a lot. And that's that global learning, supervised machine learning. We globally learn what is happening. Now, on the other hand, it's important to focus on local learning as well. Local learning means we put our sensors in your network and we find out what is happening there. What is regular traffic, what is not so regular traffic, and where we need to focus. Now, the big difference with other solutions is that we focus and we have our AI engine that constantly learns. And that's a huge difference. We don't take snapshot after month and say, okay, everything what's different, we alert. No, because you will get, again, alert fatigue and your solution is not so efficient anymore. So we constantly learn. And this on top with your global learning, we have then unsupervised, supervised modeling, map that over time, and we all of a sudden knows what is actually happening in your environment. And we can actually then give load to certain detections. So we can actually say, okay, this happened then, we give it 10%, but now we see this, this, and this. All of a sudden, we give it 70%. And this is how we do that. Now, we bring all these things together, and not just on host level, also on account level. And this is often forgotten. Because I can have an account, I can do regular tasks. All of a sudden, those tasks are not. We are basically doing more than just the tasks that you regularly do. So you're all of a sudden getting more privileges on your account. Yeah, that's something that we want to know, because that's not normal. So we focus on account level, we focus on host level, and that's again basically the only ones that doing that in the market today. And this is what you will see in the end in your user interface. So going, and it's of course an extreme example, but going from 200 hosts, 200,000 hosts up to 675 actual detections where you need to look at. This is our AI engine, our modeling. So we know important, not important, you can skip this and so on. The important thing is here, you log into your interface and you immediately see, okay, what is important, where to look at. Critical, of course, immediately put your coffee away, check what is happening, because you probably already had a CNC, you already have lateral movement, so it's time to take action before the actual ransomware kicks in. High means drink your coffee, finish it, and then have a look at it, because we're already in phase 2 of the kill chain. If the above part of the quadrant is empty, you're good, because low can also mean, okay, we saw at a certain point in time hidden tunnels, but you installed a new software and it's updating. We will filter that information out automatically after a couple of days. So this is how we do that. We automagically do that way. And very important for us, we don't stop at that level. We scan your network, we focus on the network, but we hook into everything what exists in the market. We are an open API platform. Everything what you see in the UI is an API call. So we have native integrations like CrowdStrike, SentinelOne, and others in the market. We integrate with certain firewalls, with Cisco ISE, and so on and so on. So to gather as much as data as possible, or to respond if you want to kill a certain port on your firewall, if you want to do whatever, we can easily initiate that. So integration is important. Now, why are we doing that? To enrich that metadata even more. The more we know, the better and the accurate we can respond to that. So the more integrations, the better, right? Now, I see that we're running out of time here. So to wrap up the session, what is important and what is important for you as a partner? First of all, we're going to reduce the risk of a breach, of course, for your end customers. That's the first focus. That's important. That's what everybody wants. So all of a sudden you give them visibility. Now, what's in for you is that if you're a managing partner, if you're services managing services within SOC environments at a customer, what you can simply do is you reduce your effort. If you're running a managed SOC on your environment, you can actually onboard more customers, because you don't need to invest in headcounts. You invest in a tooling who makes it all better and more efficient for you. And of course, you can leverage that tool also to make sure that certain environments are compliant. For example, not using Flash anymore. Are the certificates on the right level? We can map that all together because we have that data. And last but not least, what's a big differentiator, of course, mentioned already a couple of things, but security in the cloud. A data center is much broader than just your 4 walls in the basement these days. You have SaaS applications like Office 365 that we can integrate natively, so that we also have that metadata with us, that we can see if there is living of the land, that basically your account is used for something else because it's strange behaviors. We do IaaS platforms on Amazon, Azure, and so on. So we go very broad. So this is basically, in a nutshell, what Vectra is doing these days. So I want to thank you very much for listening. If there are any questions, don't hesitate to jump by in our virtual booth later this afternoon. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marat. That was a great presentation, really insightful. Quite a couple of things stuck with me, I guess. One was the timeline of the attacks. I haven't seen something quite so well put together and succinctly sort of displayed, I guess, as what actually happens at what time period. But also the level of integrations you guys have got. It's pretty comprehensive. I think I saw no end of different logos on there. So no, thank you again. I really appreciate your time and great presentation.
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much.
So again, just a reminder, we do have a comment section where you can ask any questions. Of course, there will be the virtual booths, though, with all of our vendors, and you're able to go and take a deeper dive into some of the presentations that you've seen so far today. But next up, we have Lee from Fireman.
Hi, everybody. Firstly, thanks everyone for attending. I am the EMEA channel manager for Fireman. I'm going to go straight into the obligatory Fireman at a glance stand. Just fly through this very quickly. So, founded back in 2003, so 18 years old, lots of experience, primarily in the US, so interesting for the EMEA region. We have a global presence. Obviously, we're in the UK, Germany, Australia, and Singapore. Lots and lots of customers, 100 plus in the Fortune 500, 6 of the top 10 MSPs. We are headquartered out of Kansas City and Dallas, unusually for an American organization. Usually they're based further on the West Coast, but that's where we are. Really good growth, so 40% year-on-year growth. And I think the most interesting one of the most interesting perspectives from our point of view for our partner channel relationships are the fact that we renew more than 95% of our yearly renewal base. So what do we do? So we provide business agility to our customers. So we allow them to see everything on the network, integrate everywhere, adapt to change, protect everything, and scale and perform. When I say see everything, I mean you're able to manage your network, so you can manage your attack surface of your network. We eliminate the leak path. We ensure compliance. You can protect. Obviously, you can't protect what you can't see, and we see your network in real time. We talk about integration everywhere. We help you with the spread of multiple security devices, especially in a SOC environment. The inability to share data rapidly, quickly, if at all. Security devices normally have a very limited API integration, so we provide an open API solution that allows us to communicate with mostly any security device that you could think of currently on the market. Where we talk about the adapt to change, then interestingly, I've only been with Fireman for 4 months or so, and this took me a little bit by surprise, the fact that 2 out of 3 businesses still rely on manual changes within their networks, even some very complicated networks. 3 out of 5 need to talk to multiple departments to make changes on their networks. Obviously, this slows everything down, leads to missing of SLAs, it leads to risk, misconfiguration, it leads to compliancy violations. Fireman will even suggest changes to your network that will help avoid those problems. So we protect everything. So enterprises have more and more IP addresses and servers and data than I think we've ever had in any time in our history. So that adds a lot of complexity. Gartner actually says that by 2023, 99% of all firewall breaches will be caused by misconfiguration. Apart from just firewalls, we obviously help you manage SD-WANs and SASE devices. We can even simulate attacks on your network, so you'll be able to really understand and show what effect that particular attack will have on your network at a specific time. And we also help you to discover and detect vulnerabilities on your system, the systems around your network. We massively scale and perform. So we can see 24 million IP addresses per hour. We can manage up to 15,000 devices, and we can see 25 million rules at any one time in real time. So obviously that all leads to the slide that we're on right now. So increasing hybrid network complexity. Also, there's always the handoff between adding security sometimes negatively affects the way that a company can do business. But then again, at the same time, sometimes if you allow the company to do business more simply, then it also has a negative effect on the security implementations that you're trying to make. I don't have to tell any of you guys that we're currently in the middle of a global pandemic. So our IT staff are being used for purposes, used for jobs, used for work they probably never ever dreamt they'd be doing a year or so ago. So that's having a detrimental effect on a lot of networks out there. There's a lot of lack of visibility as well as an unknown risk to the expanding attack surface of complicated networks out there. Here's some numbers. I quite like numbers sometimes. So 66% of organizations are actively consolidating the number of cybersecurity vendors they're using in their environments right now. So they already recognize that there's complexity in their networks that they're trying to do something about. And 79% of the respondents to a survey that we run saying that it's somewhat or very challenging to orchestrate alerts from multiple vendor reports and multiple vendor products. So the costliest threat to IT business continuity is approved change. I really find this interesting because I always thought that approved changes were properly measured, discussed by smart people, and then implemented after test runs. And that is the case. But even in some situations, 83% of the time, those implementations of approved change requests still cause mistakes on the firewalls. 70% of the time, those mistakes are made during an approved change, and that can lead to 3 times service disruptions or even outages within large networks. So why do customers leverage Fireman? Well, we're great for giving a clear, precise visual view of the devices, no matter how disparate they are, that are on your network. Our multi-tiering also helps with managed service providers out there. We help with the cleanup and audit of the policies that you find on firewalls. How often have your customers said that they've got a firewall that's been in place for some time? It's got literally hundreds, sometimes even thousands of policies on there, but it's working okay, and they're too scared to make the changes in case that has a detrimental effect on their network. We're very important around compliancy, helping customers avoid violations to compliancy and maintaining compliancy and building very quick and accurate reports that they can provide that shows that they are compliant. Automated change policy is great. So we take away a lot of the mundane changes that you have to do on an almost daily basis in large networks. And that means that we're able to free up the technical resources that are undergoing such pressure at the moment, at the position we find ourselves in. We're great for digital transformation, migrating into the cloud, network segregation, where companies have merged and are using disparate network cybersecurity vendors or products. And we can proactively search for threats, to name but a few. So who cares about this? Well, obviously CISOs, heads of cyber, SOC, NOC, data managers, the list goes on, security managers and inventory teams. And why do they care? Well, they care because they want to have more visibility, they want to be more compliant, and they want more automation. So they want to stop firewall misconfigurations. They want help with the staff shortages that they kind of find themselves in at the moment. They want to stop compliancy violations. They want to remove the risk from bad configuration and negative changes to their security devices. And they want to enhance the capabilities of their existing solutions. I'm talking about SOAR, SIM, ITSM, and a whole lot more of other devices out there that will be positively affected by removing some of the policies and some of the bottlenecks that you often find in networks. So why do anything right now? Well, we often find that even the largest customers have no centralized policy alerting or reporting. Everything is done on spreadsheets, different spreadsheets, different areas, and so on. No effective policy to clean up policies as well, or no effective method to clean up policies. They're trying to keep costs down, but obviously keeping costs down often has a negative effect on the security posture, and it obviously has a negative effect on whether they're compliant or not. Networks are more and more complex. They're just so large now that the average human is prone to make more and more mistakes. They're just too huge for us to handle on our own anymore. So they become a breeding ground for human error. I'll say this again, I think it's the third time, but I love this stat, but it's 83% of firewalls and cloud breaches will be caused by misconfigurations. Even planned misconfigurations are a large percentage of that. But we stop compliance violations before they even happen, so we can look for unplanned, we can prevent unplanned outages, compliance breaches, and so on. And why Firemon? Well, as I said, we've been around since 2003. We're a complete solution, right from multi-tenancy, multi-tiering, right through to change, reporting, remediation of attacks, discovery, and so on. So what makes us different from the competition out there? I think a few of the main things are our scalability. So the number of devices that we can manage, right up to 15,000, 25 million rules in real time. Our automation capabilities are second to none as well. So we can really save a lot of time, a lot of effort, remove the need for mundane changes to be done by very professional people. We also give those teams a real-time visibility into wherever their security devices may be, whether they're in the cloud, geographically spread out, heterogeneous software, hardware, and so on. And we could just take all that away and give you a clear, simple, concise view of your network security. And also the API flexibility as well. So by us offering free open APIs, we're able to what we call normalize the language from these disparate security vendors and pull that into our data and understand exactly what's going on with the devices, and then share new policies and remove policies. So where can I find the money? Obviously, very important. So again, without wanting to repeat myself too much, complicated, large, heavily certified, compliant, and key network interface is where you will find an opportunity to speak about Firemon. We're talking about organizations that are using multi-cloud deployments, looking at digital transformation, maybe have had a big merger or shared a merger, currently are looking at moving staff around to do different jobs. They're looking at more automation. It's that kind of network where we truly fit. So the ideal customer profile, kind of covered this a little bit in the last slide, but I don't want everybody to think that this is only for the giant corporations out there. That possibly is our best fit, and we're already in a lot of very large organizations, networks. But even smaller networks with around about 10 firewalls or so, as long as they're complicated and maybe lack of staff leads to this, compliancy issues, we're a really good fit. I mean, I was speaking to a small airline yesterday, and they only have 8 firewall devices, but spread around 4 different geographic regions. But obviously, it's an airline, so it's very compliant and so on. So they saw a need for some of the services that we can offer them, just to free up time. So a mixture of technologies is really key for us as well. So ideally, we've got different brands of devices around the network. A mixture of on-prem, cloud, VMware, and so on, very, very important. Change management and documentation-driven organizations as well. So talk about PCI and other compliance measures. Because we work in large networks, we mostly fit most of them. So we're not pigeonholed into one vertical or a handful of verticals. These are EMEA numbers as well. So we are particularly strong in the financial space and in the with banks. But I think that's mainly because we've done quite a lot of work with these guys, and obviously people move around and they share our information and people change jobs. So we've got a constant pickup of customers that are interested in talking around us. But saying that, we're equally as comfortable in retail, travel and leisure and so on. So straight out of the box, as they say, we work with just about every large vendor that there is out there. There's even the opportunity that if the project is big enough that we will add a specific vendor if that's necessary. But you can see here, I really don't think there's many missing from this slide. We've also got very strong firewall and cloud alliances with Juniper, F5, Checkpoint, Cisco, Palo Alto, and Fortinet, and they're just about the biggest in the market right now. And obviously in the cloud as well, so Cisco, AWS, Azure, Google, VMware, etc. So it's not one or the other. Obviously, we're very happy with working with these devices and these technologies wherever they might be and whatever platform they might be sitting on. Brand new relationship with Zscaler, or Zscaler, as my American colleagues like to call it. This is brand new. It's only been in place for a couple of months, but we're already seeing interest around the channel with this as well. So we fundamentally just treat Zscaler as another device, so full visibility, and we can look at the policies and measure what the device is actually doing. So who's our competition? Well, obviously we've got competition. Just about everybody does have competition, but I think our main competition of getting into opportunities is our spreadsheets. So that's customers that are just used to working with spreadsheets, used to doing things the way they've done them for years and years. There's obviously potential customers out there that have never don't even realize that there are products out there that can solve them a lot of grief and can add to their overall compliancy message. Obviously, there are key vendor out there that are competition to us: Tufin, AlgoSec, and Skybox. We see these guys in different regions at different levels, but just needless to say that if you see one of these vendors in an opportunity and you're locked out for whatever reason, if you see them, then that opportunity will be a very good fit for Firewall. This is a bit I like. So we are actively looking for partners in EMEA. There's a big push from the States for us to build a strong and resilient channel in the EMEA region. We've got leads coming in, and obviously we don't have the number of partners that we would like to have. So not that I'm looking for many, but we're looking for some good partners. And the main reason around that is because we are a technical product. We are not something that can just be dropped into a network. We need partners that are versatile and working with the sort of customers that we need to speak to. We've got a very good partner portal, but I think most important to most people who've been in the channel for a long time now is the way that we register deals. So every single deal we work with is a new opportunity into a new customer is deal registered. That means that only you get the full discount, and our sales guys will only work with you on that opportunity. We've got lots of marketing activities that are going live. Obviously, we're leaning heavily on Westcon as they're our only partner in the European region, and we're getting great support from those guys. Training and certification, it's all free. We don't ask our partners to jump through a lot of hoops and pay a lot of money before they've got the pipeline. All that is free and easily available through the partner portal. We are a fully two-tier channel program vendor. Everything we do goes through distribution and then through partners. As I said, we work exclusively with the Westcon group around Europe. I just wanted to show this. The deal registration, it's real. Here are the forms. They're simple to fill in, simple to get hold of. I approve them all. And it's a very simple, easy to understand process. If you've worked with other vendors before that maintain a high level of deal registration around new opportunities, then you'll find this very easy to complete. And what are the goals? Well, obviously, it's protecting our partners, especially protecting new partners that bring us new opportunities. We need to increase the partner margins for you. We need to collaborate with new partners so we can find new business. So that's what's in it for us. Or what's in it for you is you can register very small deals. Like I say, I haven't been with Firemon that long, but I've definitely not seen a deal that's under $20,000. So that's a very easy number to hit. Deals are registered for 90 days. You can renew the deal registration if the project doesn't flow as quickly as you would have liked. And we get additional software margin and approved registered deals. All our certification, as I said, is all online. It's all free of charge. The 101 is for sales. The 201 is technical. The 301 is more for integration purposes, setup and that sort of stuff. But it's only the 101 and the 201 you need to progress up the partner tiers. And because we're new to EMEA, we've got a really good spiff on. It's very easy to use. So basically, we'll give you $1,000, win or lose, for any opportunity that you register that hits the $20,000 mark into a new customer and a new opportunity. So that's $500 for the salesperson and $500 for the technical person who is aligned to that salesperson. So that's me. Thank you very much. Let me check if there are any questions.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, Lee. I think
It's a pleasure.
I don't think we have too many comments or questions coming through, so
I can't see any.
No. So thank you ever so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and thank you to all of our presenters for taking the time to talk to us today. I'd just like to remind you all that we do have our virtual treasure hunts going on. So please do take the time to visit the booths and you can compete in that. But just to wrap up, I think we need to move now to the auditorium to continue the day. And thank you all very much for attending.